Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Homestand Show. I'm Albert Vartanian. We got a big show for you today coming up. Noor Zainab's going to stop by of Hoop Talks. We're talking about the Raptors. How about this? Another win for the Toronto Raptors. They're looking good. Mikey Singh is also going to drop by. He'll be fresh off Toronto FC training. We're going to preview TFC's matchup against Inter Miami. He's going to have an update on Lorenzo Insigne, who's expected to be out for the next few weeks. Not good. Rob Conway of BET99 will also join us. We're going to talk about the Leafs. They got a doubleheader this week. Friday, they got the Canes. Saturday, the Senators. But first, let's start with March Madness, NCAA. The upsets are happening. Let's bring in Jelani Goodridge-Reed, my co-host across from me, Justin Pooni. Princeton, 15 seed upsetting Arizona. There's been a couple of upsets, but this one probably takes the top of the list.
First of all, I just want to point out the set.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I didn't want to say anything.
Look, shout out to the Notre Dame fans out there with the Irish stuff.
Yeah.
They're not even in the tournament anyway. But yeah, I think Princeton, man, that was crazy.
First
right?
win since
I know your bracket's done.
1996.
Your bracket's done. My bracket's done. Yours is done. Arizona, man, they're a problem. They're a problem. And since Sean Miller, actually, they always have high expectations year after year. And yes, they've made Sweet 16s here and there, but these guys have been knocked out of the first round 3 times since 2016. Right? So I'm looking at Tommy Lloyd and I'm saying to myself, you have a good cast last year, right? You guys made the Sweet 16. Remember, Matherin was on that team. And they were a number 1 seed, didn't meet the expectations, got knocked out. This time around, the expectations were there again, right? You guys are 2. You still have talent there, and still, you guys had a good performance, by the way. Princeton wasn't doing much throughout the game. It was close.
Yeah.
They let them hang around, but the thing is, Arizona couldn't finish. I don't know what happened in the final stretch of the second half.
They were
just
outscored
didn't finish.
9-0, right? In the last 4.5.
Yeah.
They got held in check at 55 points the entire game. The Princeton
That's not good
defense,
enough.
it's not good enough, especially for a team like Arizona that's been putting out NBA quality talent on a yearly basis. And you can't, like you said, you can't put any extended runs in the tournament. But I think that also might be the case that you have all these young players, these one and done guys that feel that pressure in the tournament, where Princeton has guys that have been there for years, right? And they're a veteran group. And that might be a part of it with the problem with these one and done programs where they just get these young players in and out and they don't really care about the tournament or the pressure.
And that's
This
why
is March Madness,
yeah,
right?
and that's why I feel like if you're an experienced team, you might have a better shot to go deeper. But yeah, as for Arizona, this is the first school to lose to an 11, a 12, a 13, a 14, and a 15
Wow.
seed.
Yeah, that's
and
not
they
good.
lost to a 15 seed twice as a program. That's a problem.
Yeah, not good enough. Any of you guys bet on that, by the way? Princeton?
No.
I didn't. I did not.
That would have been
Yeah, I know.
serious
I should've,
story
I
of me.
should've.
I did bet on Furman. I got the points, plus 5.5. They upset a Virginia 3-pointer in the last 3 seconds. Maybe the worst turnover I've ever seen in my life. What was Buddy doing? It was a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from his end of the court into the half court.
know.
It was like when Mopey hit that 3 against the Wizards, that type of thing, right? Where they
You know
just
what? I feel horrible for the kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you can't give that ball up like that.
Listen, Virginia, they continue to be fraud watch representatives. They have been on my fraud watch for years. Tony Bennett, good coach, right? ACC
National
titles,
championship,
right? But aside from that championship, what have they done? Please tell me, what have they done?
Yeah.
Under Tony Bennett's watch, can we go back? 2018, what happened? UMBC. Okay, UMBC 16 seed, first time. After that happened, I was like, okay, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Then let's skip over that 2019 year. They won, right? I'll get to it real quick. But then you're looking at 2021, Ohio beat you. Then Furman right now. Okay, Kihei Clark also with that
5-year
pass.
starter.
5-year starter, right? But remember, 2019, the year they won, he had one of the best passes ever, okay, to beat Purdue in the Elite Eight. Now he ends his career like this. It's kind of sad, right? But it's similar to the Lakers. Look at the Lakers run with LeBron, okay? Take out the bubble year. What have they done?
Yeah.
Okay? Miss the playoffs. You get bounced in the first round, miss the playoffs again. Similar thing with Virginia, okay? Because aside from that 2019 year, they haven't done anything. 2019, let me touch on it real quick. That year, they kind of got lucky. They had a good team. Ty Jerome. They had DeAndre Hunter. They had a guy like Kyle Guy. Diakite was really nice. Kier Clark, right? But same way, you're looking at that Purdue game. Got lucky. They barely got through that.
Yeah.
Texas A&M. Auburn. My bad. Final Four. They got hosed by a terrible call from downtown. All right, to give Kyle Guy free throws at the end, and then let me give you Texas A&M. A&M choked. All right, so
I just
aside
wanna-
from that, you're
I just want to give
Jelani,
some,
Jelani's spitting right
I just
now.
want to give some context here. Jelani is a diehard North Carolina
Yes,
Tar
I am.
Heels fan.
He's hurting,
and
man.
they
Why do you
play
gotta- why
in
do
the
you gotta do that? Why you gotta
ACC. They
do
play in
that?
the ACC with Virginia.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a
and they
rivalry
beat
there.
us. They beat us.
And they beat you
in the
guys.
ACC
Yeah.
tournament.
And they
but
did.
Look, I'm a hater this year.
Yeah.
I'm a flat out hater this year.
At least
I
you're
want
honest
chaos.
about it.
I want chaos.
Okay,
but Tony Bennett's a
we just
fraud.
got a couple minutes left. With the teams left and the teams that have gone through,
Right.
who should we have our eye on right now? At the favorites at the moment,
Mm.
we've gone to Alabama 5-1.
Look, Alabama's the best team in terms of talent. This year.
Mhm.
I'm looking at Texas though. Texas is my champion.
Please tell me Houston are
I
going to win this thing.
Houston, no.
They looked rough yesterday, Houston.
Houston, they have nothing offense. Like, okay, look, Marcus Sasser is hurt.
Mhm.
That's their best player, All-American first team. So they miss him. But if you don't have Jamal Shed balling, I don't trust Houston at all, right?
Yeah.
Purdue, Zach Edey shouted to Canada, but I just think being a center-oriented team, we haven't seen a champion play that way in a
Years.
long time, right? Matt Painter, I don't trust his teams when it matters most. So Texas, I think Serge Jabari Rice,
Love that.
best six man in the tournament right now,
12-1.
and
Yeah.
Marcus
I
Carr.
also have a future on Creighton to win it all 20-1.
Creighton, I like
What
that
do you
pick.
think? Thank you.
I like that.
This is what I want to hear.
6
On
seed.
St. Patrick's Day,
Yes.
this is what I want to hear from Jelani.
Best six seed in the tournament, in my opinion. Greg McDermott has those guys balling right now.
Yeah.
Nemhard, and you got
Canadian.
Kalkman as well. Yes, Canadian Kalkman. I think they're gonna be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a
Kalkbrenner's gonna be-
fantastic weekend of March Madness. Jelani, you killed it.
Gotcha.
As always, happy St. Patrick's Day by this set brought to you by your local dollar store. All right, coming up next, Mikey Singh drops by from TFC Training to talk about their game this weekend at BMO Field. All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Jelani Goodridge-Reed for coming in, dropping knowledge on the NCAA
Yeah.
March Madness tournament. Joining us now,
A little bit biased,
another
too.
guy who's going to drop some serious Toronto FC knowledge, and that's Michael Singh of Room 442.
Thanks for having me, boys. What,
Fresh-
what are we
fresh-
chatting?
Fresh from
Chatting
TFC
Leafs,
Training. No, we got to talk.
Raptors, Jays.
We got to talk
TFC today.
TFC.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
TFC in action this weekend against Inter Miami. Obviously, the big news, which you already know, Lorenzo Insigne out 3 to 4 weeks. What I'm seeing across social media and talking to TFC fans, they're very upset. There's some very angry fans out there. Can you be the calming voice for the TFC fan base and tell us not to worry about Lorenzo Insigne's injury?
Okay. It is a worry,
Mhm.
of course, when you make that.
What's your level of concern?
like
from 1
we're
to
going
10?
1 to 10? Like a 6 right now. So there is some concern there.
okay.
And I think the reason being, just speaking of Bob Bradley actually today, it sounds like there's something else there that's happening with the groin that they haven't quite put their finger on. I straight up asked Bob Bradley, I'm like, did you guys rush Lorenzo Insigne back? Because as we know, he re-aggravated the initial injury which he suffered against DC United in February, was back in full training, and then on Friday before the home opener, he reaches for a ball, similar to the way he did against DC United. And once again, he feels pain in his groin, which led to him getting that second scan and him being ruled out for 3 to 4 matches. So I asked Bob Bradley, I'm like, did you guys rush Lorenzo Insigne back? He's flat out like, no. Of course, like, what's he going to say?
Well,
Yeah, we
exactly.
did. But he's like, no. But then he goes on and says that he thinks what's sort of happening there is that there's something else there that they need to figure out. That's what's causing it, because he trained through training through the first time or throughout the week perfectly fine, and then he re-aggravates it. So they think there's something else, maybe a lingering, that they can't quite put their finger on. So that's a concern.
Look, you've said it a number of times before that Lorenzo Insigne is the most important piece if they want to do anything this year. How does TFC stay afloat over this next 3 to 4 week period without the MLS top paid player?
That's a great question. I mean, when you look at their matches that they've played so far, you can say all 3 of them essentially were without Lorenzo Insigne. They've taken the lead in each of those matches. So they do have the potential to go ahead. So I think the biggest thing now is just holding on to that lead. And, speaking with Iowa Canola today, he said he thinks what the team needs to do is just have that killer instinct. When you go up 1 goal, make it 2 goals, make it 3 goals. Have that killer instinct instead of maybe sitting back. Bob Bradley touched on it. He feels like his team is dropping deep a little bit too much and playing a little bit too defensively at times. And he'd rather them push up further up the field and really take the game to their opponent. So kind of what Akinola's saying, they need to, build off what they started, just finish it.
Bernadeschi said something similar, saying we need to play more football, more right passes on the field, not long balls. We need to improve. And people are kind of reading into this. Is he calling out the players that he plays with, or is he calling out Bob Bradley? What was your take on that?
Well, that's the way Bob Bradley wants to play. So I don't think he's calling out Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley wants his teams to play with the ball, play with possession, keep the ball on the ground, connect passes, do all the things that Frederico Bernadeschi was saying.
But is that the system that suits these players?
I think so. I think that they have shown in the past that they're capable of doing that. It may not suit them when Lorenzo Insigne is not in the lineup, though.
Right.
They may have to settle and concede possession like they did against Atlanta. When they played against Atlanta, especially in Atlanta on Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the pitch is very big. It's turf. They like to concede possession there. So I think that's what they did that game. They have to be okay doing that more so moving forward. So, yeah, I think so.
Speaking of Bob Bradley, when you have a guy like Insigne who's in and out of the lineup, how challenging is it for him? Like you said, because the style of play they play with him and without him is so different. From his perspective, how challenging must it be to find that perfect mix that you can work with when he's in and out of the lineup?
I guess, he's so important to this team, like I've said so often. So when you don't have him there, they don't have a player that's like Insigne coming off their bench. So you do, to your point, you do have to mix and match a little bit and try and find the right recipe that would work. But in Major League Soccer, you have 3 designated players. TFC only have 2 DPs. So you take one of those away from the team. There's no way the team can still play the same way they want to play. So, yeah, it is a challenge.
Sticking with Bob Bradley, I want to just ask you how long his leash is, right? Because I'm going through all the matches he's been with at TFC. 12 wins, 9 draws, 20 losses, and 41 matches. Doesn't make for great reading, considering some of the talent that he has now. I know Insigne has been in and out of the lineup, and Bernadeschi, they came a little bit later into his tenure. But based on their current form, dating back to last season, how much more time are you going to give Bob Bradley?
He was brought in here by Bill Manning to be Toronto FC's head coach for the foreseeable future. I don't think that plan has shifted whatsoever. He does have a long leash, and I know when you read out the stats, it doesn't sound great for TFC, but you put that into perspective. Last year was simply a rebuilding year. They went through the first half of the year with all young kids. There was no expectation, really, especially from TFC's, above Bob Bradley, from ownership, that TFC was going to be a winning team last year. So Bob Bradley's gone through the trenches with this team. He's rebuilt this team. Now heading into this season, expectations are raised. Now it's no longer going to be okay for you to go out there and put in decent performances but still come away with losses. You need wins. But I think he still has the full season to try and get that. And you also have to look at it through context. Like we just talked about, Insigne's down. But can't really fault Bob Bradley for Insigne going down.
No, absolutely not. But if it gets to a certain point in the season, let's say halfway through the season, they're outside of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And form is still kind of up and down the way it is now. Do you think a decision will be made, or is it concrete? He's got till the end of the season.
No, I think he's got till the end of the season, regardless of what happens. Especially because Bill Manning, he's gone through coaching changes.
Yeah.
Right. Bob Bradley is his guy now. If Bob Bradley goes, you start after wondering who's next in the firing line.
Right.
It's Bill Manning.
Hey, you look, this team has invested a whole lot of resources in, their 2 biggest players, and it hasn't even been 2 years yet he's had the job. So I think, like you mentioned, patience might just be the thing, because these new players come from overseas to a new league. It takes time for them to adjust and acclimate to the MLS game, which is different.
They got winners, right? Bernadeschi's a fantastic player.
Yeah, and he's hit. Bernadeschi's definitely been
Let's
hit.
talk about a player that just came in, Christian Gutierrez. They picked him up off waivers, left back. Canada Cup winner with the Whitecaps, Chilean champion. He was with Colo Colo. Why didn't it work out at Vancouver for Gutierrez?
Yeah, it's a good question. Vanni Sartini had some pretty interesting comments, if you guys caught that. He essentially questioned Gutierrez's mentality at times, and he said at times he wasn't able to, be strong enough mentally, and maybe he was questioning Gutierrez's attitude a little bit. Well, we got the chance to speak to Gutierrez today, actually training first time. He spoke through an interpreter, so he spoke Spanish. But essentially what he said is he doesn't pay mind to sort of those comments from Vanni Sartini. He's thankful for his time in Vancouver. He took the high road. right? He could have easily said, yeah, you know what, working with Vanni Sartini, it's probably not the easiest thing in the world, but he decided,
That is definitely an interesting character.
yeah, exactly. So he decided to take the high road and just put the pass behind him. But you have to wonder like what their relationship was like. And whenever you don't have the greatest relationship with a coach, you're fighting an uphill battle. So I think that's sort of what happened.
TFC taking on Inter Miami. They've won 5 straight against Toronto FC. Having a decent season, 2-1 so far. Just a goal conceded. They got a very good team. Bringing in who's it? Joseph Martinez.
Yeah.
Who's a real threat. How do you see this game playing out on Saturday?
Yeah. So Inter Miami's got off to a good start. However, I think I've in the past I've given them a ton of praise, especially because they beat Montreal, they beat Philadelphia to start the year. Those were the 2 best teams in the East last season. That being said, when you actually break down the roster, they're not as good as maybe they're performing. So, heading into the weekend, TFC are big favorites at home.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just the way an MLS works. If you're home, you're most likely going to be the favorite. I don't think Miami is as much of a threat as their record shows and as much as history shows, because some of those games were a little bit weird. So TFC's chances, yeah, I don't hate them.
Yeah, I like TFC in this spot. I didn't ask you, but quickly on Ayo Akinola and Diamande.
Akinola's available.
That's huge.
And Diamande not quite yet.
Okay, well he'll be at the TFC.
I'll be at
games.
the game, yeah.
Hey.
So have fun. Thanks for this guy comes up to me. Hey, you want some TFC tickets? Yeah, sure. No, I'm already taking a friend. Who does that? Who asks that type of question? What a guy. Mikey
Straight
Singh.
sewering
What
me
a
on
guy.
live air, eh? Always this
Mikey,
guy.
thanks for doing this.
Of course.
We'll have you on again soon. Toronto FC taking on Inter Miami this weekend at BMO Field. Should be a good one.
The Toronto Raptors, back-to-back wins.
How about that?
6 straight wins at home, and they actually led from start to finish with Noor Zainab of Hoop Talks, Albert Vartanian, of course, I am Justin Pooni. Noor, 6 Raptors scored double-digit points yesterday.
Against the
How
Thunder.
shocking was that? Because I was watching that game.
Shocking.
It was absolute. Look, I did not know the Raptors had it in them to get lead from start to finish and keep and maintain another fourth quarter lead.
Yeah, well, they kind of did that against the Nuggets too, though. I know against the Nuggets, they had the first quarter, 49 points, to set a franchise record. Yes, leading into the fourth, they took off the gas, foot off the gas
it was
pedal.
A rocky third quarter.
Yeah, it was like a 5-minute lead, I think, going into the fourth, but they still figured out how to maintain that and then close it out completely. But against the Thunder, I think the momentum with the Nuggets helped them close it out against the Thunder, because they just knew, they're like, okay, we figured out what we need to do, who our guys are, everybody's healthy. We have Pirtle in the lineup. You have Gary Trent coming off the bench. This is when Gary Trent also went off. He had 23 points coming off the bench, played 35 minutes. And OG Anunoby, even as a starter, only had 29 minutes. But I think that showed you that Nick Nurse is banking everything based off of matchups. Like, if one guy's going off, he's okay letting OG have less minutes and bringing Gary Trent on, because he's actually producing offensively.
How about OG's efficiency? 3 for 4 again from 3-point line. 6 for 9 field goal. I know just 17 points, but when he gets the ball, he's making shots. Recently, this wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
But he's getting a lot better looks, and it could be because of the introduction of Jakob Pirtle to the lineup, right?
I think it's also because the ball's moving. If you watched the game last night, the ball was moving, Justin. The feet were moving, the balls were moving, the guys were going to go find the ball, not have the ball come find them. And when you're doing that, you're gonna get better looks. You're not gonna find more contested shots. And I think that's where OG Anunoby was coming through, because his looks, he was getting those looks before as well. He was getting those shots up, but they weren't good looks where you were sure he will get them in. But now they were, uncontested. He's at the 3-point line, the ball's moving around, he cuts through to the paint, he takes the ball, he dunks it. So we're seeing a more confident as well as a more spaced out OG Anunoby.
That's what exactly. I think it's the confidence.
And another thing is they pretty much kept everybody other than Shea, they kept in check. Shea had his 29 points, but an elite scorer like him,
You can't keep the stars in
you
check,
can't
right?
you can't contain him. He's gonna get his.
And I
but
wonder
everybody
if they
else
also realized, because they were like, well, our game plan kind of has been working and not really trying to limit the other team's best player. So why not? We let the best player go off, but you limit the role players around him and make him win that game. And clearly he couldn't do it.
they shot 43% or 42% from the field yesterday, Oklahoma City. So look, the
just over
Raptors
43.
did a nice piece. Now, Pascal Siakam again had an all-star level performance after a couple games where he was not playing very well, and he talked about his aggressiveness post-game.
I think I want to be aggressive. Obviously, forgot to shoot free throws because I don't think I've been there in so long. It felt so foreign being at the free throw line, but nah, I just wanted to be aggressive and just play with, like, just be decisive, have a little bit more energy, and yeah, that's kind of like was my mindset.
25, 14 from Pascal Siakam, 8 assists as well. If I want to nitpick, he shot 50% from the free throw line, shot 4 rate. But like he said, though, it was foreign territory. Noor, what did you like from Pascal's game last night? What kind of stuck out to you?
Aggressiveness. You're seeing a Pascal with urgency. He led the team in everything last night. Points, assists, rebounds. It was all Pascal's show. And it's proving our point, what we said before, too. If Pascal's being Pascal, not only is the team winning because you have a great guy who's getting everything going, but he allows other guys around him to have space. They end up not having guys on their bodies because the defense is so focused on Pascal that now you got Fred VanVleet open. You have Gary Trent open. You have OG Anunoby open. So if Pascal is being Pascal, it just makes a better dynamic for a team altogether, and they can be those guys without him not holding up his end of the bargain.
I know you mentioned he wasn't great from the field, but if you're going to have a game where you're going to snap your slump, there's going to be those inefficiencies from the field. I mean, the fact that he was this aggressive, I mean, all over the board, 9 defensive rebounds, 14 total, 8 assists, 25 points. You can't ask for much more from a guy who's been slumping up until this point. But credit the rest of the Raptors. I keep mentioning OG because I think he's so important to this team, but everybody is stepping up in the absence, or the quote-unquote absence of Siakam up until this point. It's becoming much more of a team effort rather than relying on one guy, and that's what the Raptors need to do.
We even saw Christian Koloko get like 12 minutes of playing time too, so we're starting to see the bench kind of getting formed. Of course, Gary Trent led the way with 35 coming off the bench, but even Chris Boucher chipped in with 6 points. Will Barton played 11 minutes, so you're seeing that Nick Nurse starting to loosen the reins a little bit and playing guys, right? I think we've talked about this so much on Hoop Talks, how he rides the starters, just rides them into the ground, right? How important is it going to be for Nick Nurse to establish some sort of rotation of players off the bench to give those guys a break, because the next 13 games or so are make or break?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because we even saw Pascal get breaks throughout this game yesterday. I think in the fourth quarter, there was about 3 minutes where he was off. He was subbed off. They brought on Gary Trent, and then afterwards he was subbed back on with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And it's showing that if you're utilizing your bench properly, and if they're also producing, then the pressure on your starting five is the production part, right? And I get, like, you can't really blame Nick Nurse then, because who's he gonna bring up who's not producing anything? Like, I saw Chris Boucher last night, as great as he can be some nights. Last night he was not making great decisions whatsoever. He was letting the ball go past him. He was not making his layups. He was making bad foul choices as well. So when those things happen, you can't blame the coach to be like, well, you got to play your bench. Can the bench produce on the court? And that's what they did last night.
You're not going to get 23 off the bench from Gary all the time.
No.
You need that scoring to be spread out along the bench. Boucher 6, Will Barton 3. Barton's good, I think, at running the offense. I don't know if they're going to expect him to be that scorer that they want him to be.
I think if he gets hot, I think the one thing with Will Barton is if he gets hot shooting the ball, then you can kind of ride that heat wave. But he's not going to be a guy that's going to like set up the offense and run it traditionally. He's going to be more of just a catch and shoot type of guy.
He knows his role here, right? He knows he's going to be a bench guy. He's going to be looked upon to come off the bench and go towards the 3-point line and wait for the ball to get to him, or go find the ball and shoot it. Like, he's not going to be asked to go defend crazy. He's not going to be asked to go and run the offense, be the primary guy for that. But he knows his role now. He has to be at the corner, get the ball, shoot the shot, and get the Raptors some buckets.
Yeah, one thing that's not really talked about, Ben Taylor was officiating last night. His crew sent the Raptors to the line 10 times before the Thunder got to the line once. Make of that what you will. I've been big on this, that I think Fred kind of screwed over his teammates by calling out the officials. We haven't seen any of that yet, really, with the officials going against the Raptors. I mean, I think that's a good sign.
We never know, though. We never know. You never know. Close game. Fred could get a little animated, a little tee up.
It's just interesting how that was the biggest talking point and no one really mentioned it.
But I wonder if that was like strategic on Fred's part. I think we talked about this last time too, where like if you're calling him out now, the public has been alerted that if Ben Taylor will ref a Fred VanVleet game, and if Fred's been awarded a bad foul, that Mike's going to be looked at Ben Taylor to be like, well, Fred came out the other day. He said all these things. Like, they have a feud, going through between the two of them. So I wonder, like, if that's because he's leaving him on alert. Like, hey, I put the name out there. You do me wrong. Now the public's going to come after you because they know that you're that guy.
That's a good point. But that can also backfire, right? Because
no, absolutely.
The officials will do whatever the officials want to do, and they have the backing of the NBA. right? You cannot go against the officials. But I mean, if that was the play that Fred VanVleet had in mind and it works, it's a masterstroke.
I'm just gonna say this: just watch out, because if Fred gets a little animated one game,
He's kept it in check.
He's kept it in
But
check.
he never really goes over the line anyway.
That's why it was so shocking when he did what he did, right? So
But I think he was just frustrated that
Of
game
course,
because he was
of
just
course.
like, those calls were atrocious. So.
I love seeing that type of emotion. Some people are like, "Oh, be quiet, play your game." No, I want to see that.
And that's what the refs are taking away from the game. Is that's why he lashed out, because he's like, I can't show emotions anymore. I can't even like call out your bad foul on me. So I'm glad he did that.
Raptors, 9 seeds, half a game behind Atlanta for the 8th spot. Atlanta is in action tonight against Golden State. Looking ahead at the Raptors' next couple games, of course, Saturday night hosting Minnesota, Sunday in Milwaukee. Very big games, very, very big games, very critical games. Noor, what are your expectations going into this weekend? Because I think the Minnesota game is a game where Minnesota can get them, because they play good defense. They have a young upcoming superstar in Anthony Edwards. And I just choke up the Milwaukee game to an L already, because Milwaukee's the best team in the East. So what are your expectations going forward for this weekend?
I think it's going to be a tough weekend because you're playing one game in Toronto on Saturday. Then you have to leave after the game, get on a plane, and go to Milwaukee for the day after, and then play Milwaukee that evening. So the Raptors will be on a time crunch this weekend. However, when it comes to the Timberwolves, I think that's a game they can take. If they play like how they've been playing right now, the Timberwolves can't. They don't have much offense. They don't have a lot of ball movement. They don't have a lot of any really ball handlers after they let D'Angelo Russell go to the Lakers. So I think in terms of that, the Raptors can stay how they've been playing recently with the ball moving and getting the other defense kind of like clustered. They can win that game against the Timberwolves, no problem. Bucks, different story. You're not only playing the Greek Freak, but you're also in Milwaukee. So how do you get that win? I think it'll be close. The Raptors are the net rating kings in the NBA, so they'll make that game close no matter what. But will they win that? I'm going to have to give that one to the Bucks.
I'm not chalking up both L's to the Raptors. I think they can pull twice out of here. I know
You
it's
think
crazy.
they can go sweep
I
this
think they
weekend?
can. I just like the way that they're playing right now. Against Minnesota, it's going to be a tough, tight game, and I think that suits the Raptors. Remember, Minnesota's still
team is so jacked
Minnesota's
up
still
high, though.
fighting for a playoff spot. So this is not going to be some okey-doke game. This is going to be a heavy-duty game. And when it comes to the Bucks, what we've seen from the Raptors, they step up to play opposition, and they step down to play certain opposition as well, right? And I think these two games are going to be at high level, and I think that's exactly what suits the Toronto Raptors right now.
We'll see. I still am a believer, though, in Minnesota, because I think, look, I just love Anthony Edwards' game.
It's going to be a tough game.
And I think even without Karl Anthony Towns, I think Rudy Gobert will be a force in the paint. So how are the Raptors going to manage that?
Does he ever say one good thing about the Raptors?
They played. I said they played good. They played good last night. They played really good. They had a
I'm talking-
complete game, right?
I'm just waiting on Karl Anthony. I don't even think he might be playing tonight.
No, he's still out.
Yeah, he's
Cat's
still out, right? Yeah.
No,
So
Cat is
we'll
still
see.
out. But look at it. The Raptors can make some headway. I don't think the 6th seed is there. It's done. That dream is done.
Just get into the play.
Just get it. I think get a home playoff date and the play-in, right?
Yeah.
Because then you get that league having an extra game if you do lose that first.
But if I'm the
game.
Raptors, I'm not even thinking about that. It's like, let's just get in.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
get in and
absolutely.
make it happen.
And you don't have to settle where you are. You can
Yeah.
still, gain the ladder towards the higher playing spot. You can be a 7th seed or, but the 6th seed might be out of the question. But I think the Raptors are figuring out their groove right now.
Just
That's
one thing. I
important.
like Kolokolo and how he makes his team look really big and really athletic. I
Energy,
think
too.
He's going to be, I think, an important piece from now until the end of the season.
We'll
He
see if
should be,
Nick Nurse gives him the
absolutely.
leeway. Raptors in action at home against Minnesota on Saturday, then travel to face the best in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks. Noor, thank you for joining us
Thanks,
today.
Noor.
Rob Conway's next with some Maple Leafs talk.
Anything that happens through the regular season is going to be forgotten when everything gets back to zero and you're playing for real again. So it's just a matter of, like I said, good habits, feel good about the team, keep the group healthy, and ramp up and be ready to go.
All right, that was Sheldon Keefe ahead of tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes at Scotiabank Arena on St. Patrick's Day. You saw him in the green. They're going to be wearing the St. Pat's jersey. Rob Conway, BET99 Zone, joins us. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. It's a beautiful St. Patty's Day. Got my green going. I'm
a
ready to
little
go.
dark, right?
The best I got. I'm not. Yeah.
I know. I'm not even wearing one.
I know.
The boss message.
We didn't get the memo for green, but I just do only green anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, I can't wear a LeBron high school
Oh, it's
jersey.
LeBron high school
LeBron
jersey.
high school jersey.
Yeah.
It says Irish on the front. I mean, what age is the cutoff for wearing jerseys outside of your house? In a local setting. There's got to be a cutoff age, right? Is it when you move out?
I'll tell you when I stopped wearing jerseys.
There we go.
Sidney Crosby was born 1 year after me, and I wasn't going to wear a jersey of someone younger than me.
I follow that same rule.
So that's the end of it. I can wear Joe Carter's
I never
jersey.
thought about
I
that.
can't-
But I'm like,
you
yeah,
can't-
he's younger than me. Like Austin Matthews is like 12 years younger than me.
You
I
can't
gotta
wear
wear
a
a
jersey.
jersey.
You can't wear a jersey of a guy who's younger than
Yeah.
you.
I
You
just bought
just can't do
I
it.
just bought a Vladdy jersey. So now you
Yeah,
guys are
but
making me
he's like,
self-conscious a little bit.
no, but he's an icon too. It's a little bit different because he's superstar. No, you shouldn't wear the Vladdy jersey.
What's the rule? Hey, what's the rule on wearing hockey jerseys out in public just normally, not going to a game?
I
That's
think-
a bit. I don't know.
Oh, not without going to a game.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
yeah. Let's say.
Well, why are you wearing a jersey anyway if you're not
Well,
going
for
to the
style,
game?
fashion. I don't know. I saw a guy the other day wearing a red Fedorov,
No.
and he had like I don't know, just it looked good the outfit. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, no, people do look good in them. I don't. I just think they're too baggy and everything. Too.
Yeah, I think you can only wear a jersey if you're going to a game, or if it's like Halloween, you have no costume
Halloween?
ideas.
What would you dress up as a hockey player for Halloween?
Throw a jersey on and you call it a costume.
With a black eye and missing titty?
Pretty much,
If you,
yeah.
if you go in with a jersey and wear like a Red Wings jersey, do you have to wear a Red Wings hat or can you wear a different team?
No,
No, you can't mix
no,
and
no.
match.
You can't mix.
You
and
can't mix
But
and
don't you
match.
think it looks a little over the top when it's also matching at the same time?
But what are you gonna wear? You
I
gonna wear-
agree.
What are you gonna wear? A
Red
Red
Wings
Wings, a
hat?
Red Wings jersey and a Leafs
like-
hat? And a,
No, a different sport, maybe even another Detroit team. I don't know. It's
No,
just,
that's another thing. People that wear like NBA jerseys to like a NHL game.
Oh,
or-
no, yeah,
that's
yeah.
too much.
I wouldn't mind a kid that like Detroit Tigers hat with the Red Wings jersey. That's not bad. It's not a
Yeah,
bad
okay,
combination.
all right.
I guess
Right?
if you're repping Detroit, yeah.
All right, well, what are we talking about here? We're not talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Minus 120 favorites tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm looking at the puck line. Minus 1.5, plus 198. I know the Canes are good.
Yeah.
No Svechnikov. Unconfirmed yet in terms of who's starting for Carolina. But even if it is Freddie Anderson, I like the Leafs on home ice. They can win by 2.
Carolina's got a stingy defense.
What,
They
I'm
don't-
just trying to figure out what I'm missing here by this number. plus
Well, it's just
198.
because it's basically a pick 'em to win the game, and so you're not just taking when you're taking the plus 98, you're also taking the idea of Carolina could win the game outright as well.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of other side to it. I agree with you. If you think they're going to win the game, then more than likely they have a chance at an empty net late. Then you,
That's
you
what
got,
I'm
you got an
thinking, right?
opportunity for it.
I just
yeah.
thought the odds would be a lot shorter. Totals at 6.5, over 5-2 in the last 7 meetings between the two. A couple updates from morning skate. Ilya Samsonov gets to start in back-to-back games. Murray going to start on Saturday against Ottawa's forward team. Luke Schenn makes his re-home debut for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Re-home debut.
Not in the blue and white though, in the green. How about this one? From that last time that he played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the player that on their roster who's still in the NHL is Phil Kessel.
Wow.
I guess
Only
Diet,
one
I guess
player
Diet
remaining.
Coke and hot dogs do work to
Yeah.
stay in the NHL.
He's one of one, eh? Phil Kessel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iron Man. Doesn't look like a hockey player, but
Yeah.
is a
No.
fantastic hockey player.
Yeah. I can't think. The only person I can kind of think of is like Alexei Kovalev. He was
Yeah.
kind of like that, where he didn't seem super interested in being the most elite hockey player in the
Sergei
world. He was
Zubov.
Well,
so
how
thick.
good was he? Though? How
was-
good was he?
Yeah,
Right?
thick. Yeah.
He's just built different, man.
One
Yeah.
of those guys shows up or showed up when he wanted to.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Luke
With
Schenn, he
darts
had
in
this
the-
to
with
say.
darts in the intermission or something like
Sergei
that.
Zubov used to smoke darts in the intermission.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Him and Ali Afredi in the dressing room. This is Luke Schenn on making his debut back at home.
I'm just super excited to come back here and play in front of, this organization and this fan base on the home side this time. Obviously, I've been here a few times on the visiting side in the last, decade or so, but it's pretty special to come back and, be in this dressing room and, come out through this tunnel and be on this bench.
So Keefe running 11-7 once again. Justin Hall coming out for Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn, obviously a good player.
Yeah.
He won a cup with Tampa Bay too, I think, actually, with Tampa Bay. Was
Might
it
have
2?
been, yeah. I think
I think
so.
it's 2 cups.
Mm,
Yeah, he won anyway.
both.
He's got a cup with Tampa
He's got
Bay.
a cup, yeah.
How much better can a depth defenseman actually make the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Luke Schenn is exactly what they need for the playoffs. This
Yeah.
guy plays that physical game.
But this is a guy who's going to come in and out, right?
Yeah,
That's the expectation.
I think so. I think like him and Justin Hall will probably be the guys that swap.
Gustafson as well. He's there
Gustafson,
too?
well, those three will be the guys that kind of go in and out, be the interchangeable pieces. But Luke Schenn's kind of built for the playoffs, man. Like he's a sandpaper guy. He can throw the body, get those forwards kind of leery, forechecking, getting in the corners and stuff like that. And he's been on the block, like you mentioned, Albert. He's a Stanley Cup winner. He's been there, been through those battles. I have first-hand experience watching him play for the Canucks all the time. Great locker room guy as well, so what you're getting. High character guy. He's gonna give it his all, and he'll play it safe. He's not gonna do too much. He's gonna stay within his game. And I think sometimes with Justin Hall, that might be his detriment. He tries to do a little bit too much, and then he gets caught. With Luke Schenn, you know what you're going to get game in and game out with him. And I think that right there might be the deciding factor as to why he might get more playing time out of his other bottom defensemen.
Always, leads the league, not leads the league, but up there in hits. Plays like you said, a physical game, and it's I think the best part what you said, safe. Right, you're reliable out there. There's going to be a moment in the first round of the playoffs where Sheldon Keefe is going to look out on the ice and decide who's going to be there and who's he going to be most comfortable with. And I think Luke Schenn might be that guy, honestly, in the last couple minutes of a tight game, as opposed to looking at even a guy like Riley. He gets paid so much. He's going to be in big minutes, but his style of game doesn't really fit a 3-2 hockey game with a minute and a half to go. That's what Luke Schenn's going to be able to do.
Yeah, and I think Luke Schenn starts game one of the playoffs.
Oh,
against
I think
Tampa
so,
Bay.
yeah.
I think that's going to be a heavy-hitting, hard game. You
Yeah.
send out your top guys in that category, the Acharis, the Luke Schenns.
Mhm.
They've become a lot more difficult to play against, what I've noticed. Against that Colorado game, people were talking playoff-like atmosphere. It was just a tough, tight game.
Yeah.
And the Leafs held their own. Yeah, they lost in a shootout.
I was
but
listening to
it's a different-looking team.
Yeah, I was listening to Ken Hitchcock talk about the Leafs, and he was just saying the biggest change is they can now check. There's a difference. He was talking about the difference between playing defense and having the ability to check, right? The Leafs are now a team that can get on guys, create loose pucks, create turnovers.
Yeah.
And that right there is a difference than maybe seasons before. They get on guys, they forecheck hard, they can create loose pucks, create turnovers. We saw it with the last game, last Saturday, against Edmonton, all the turnovers they caused. That right there is a big factor as to why this team is so much harder to play against, because they can create those turnovers and create havoc with the other team around.
And you're going to play for 2 weeks against the team. It's such a unique thing. You never really, other than a back-to-back, you don't see a team for 2 straight weeks, and they're going to be able to game plan for you. But I think what's the most important thing for the Leafs is you just want to feel like the other team feels it's going to be hard to play against them. Hard. Like it's just when you don't check, when you don't, when you go to forecheck and all you're trying to do is poke the puck up, you don't put a guy up against the glass. Guys just go, this is going to be an easy 60 minutes. We might not win, but it's not going to be hard on us.
Right.
And that's what you want to do. You want to create that physicality where the team is like, man, this is going to be a tough 60 minutes. We got to play. We're going to be bruised by the end of it. And that's the type of style that the Leafs haven't been able to do. And maybe they can
over
now.
a 7-game series, right? That 2-week period, like you mentioned, guys are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
It's a war of attrition, right? And if you make it hard on other teams, they might start breaking down, and that creates openings for you.
Yeah, and that depth is actually really important. Tampa Bay, by the way, just 1 point behind the Toronto Maple Leafs, so they got to keep that in mind. Mitch Marner is becoming one of the most, maybe the most important player on the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. His record against Carolina is fantastic. 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points in 14 games played. There's been a lot of talk about who the Toronto Maple Leafs' most important player is. Obviously, Austin Matthews is in that conversation, and it's all about we need to get Austin Matthews up to snuff by the time playoff comes, because that's our only chance of really winning if he's at his best. But with that said, based on the season that Mitch Marner is having at the moment, 67 games played, 24 goals, 62 assists, 86 points. Can you make the argument that Mitch Marner could be the most important player on this team as of this season?
He's the most valuable player on this team right now. He's certainly playing the best this season. Sometimes when you have an elite player like Austin Matthews, a Connor McDavid, your most important player isn't that player, because you're going to get normally from them what you want every single night. Connor McDavid's going to go out there and put it's the Leon Draisaitl's, the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that are maybe just as important, if not more important, because again, we're going to play 2 weeks worth of hockey against the team, and these guys are just going to game plan for Austin Matthews. Well, other players have to step up, and Mitch Marner has done that throughout this season. We'll see in a playoff series how he can able to do that. But we saw with Tampa Bay, it wasn't just Stamkos and Kucherov. It's the Braden Points that come out of nowhere, that are the Killorns that have big games and big series. So I think it's not necessarily that he's the best player on the team, but most important, most valuable right now, I think he is.
What I look at is if you take him out of lineup, what are the Leafs?
Yeah.
Same thing with Edmonton. If you take Draisaitl, as good as McDavid is, if you take Draisaitl out of that lineup, what are the Edmonton Oilers?
I think, I don't know if I agree with the Draisaitl point, but the thing with Marner, is he excels at all
Even
facets of the
mixing
game.
up for the best player in the world.
So many M's. But Marner, he plays all facets of the game. He excels as a penalty killer, and of course, he dominates on the power play and 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Selke guy? You think he's a Selke guy at some point in his career?
Our boy Mikey Singh said that on the show earlier on Monday this week, and I don't know about that. It's a bit kind of pushing it, but I believe he's very crafty with his stick. He can create loose pucks. He's obviously a great playmaker. I don't know if he's a Selke guy, because I think there's levels, so he's not on the Bergeron or
that's the bar.
Or even a Barkov, right? I don't know if he's on that level with Alexander Barkov. But look, he's a great two-way player, and I think, like Rob said, he's not the superstar that Austin Matthews is, but he is the most important player on this team.
Mitch Marner played over 29 minutes, which was a career high against the Avalanche. I mean, at this point in the season, like Keefe really needs to think about juggling his lines. I know he wants to go with the 11 and 7, but at some point you have to protect your stars. There's no reason why Mitch Marner should be playing over 29 minutes in a regular season.
Well,
game.
he said it off the top there. I mean, we're just trying to settle in, and we're trying to figure out how like he was just like, we're chilling right now, going into the playoffs. Well, 29 minutes is
not chilling. No,
it's not chilling. So you're right. If there's any bumps or bruises, if there's anything that they need to figure out internally, then you set them. But some guys like to play tired, like Mark Giordano, for example. He needs to play 25 minutes tonight, even though he doesn't
want to stop.
No, exactly. So I don't know, Mitch Marner's that guy, but maybe he is.
Again, maybe it's they want to make sure they get that home ice advantage in the first round. Could they be? I know what Keefe said, that just chilling to the playoffs, but could they actually be one to keep them pushing for that home ice advantage in round one? Where we talked the other day, does that really matter for these guys?
Yeah.
Well, here's actually Sheldon Keefe talked about that. If he looks at the standings this point in the season.
Keeping notice of what's happening around you, but you don't lose focus to what's most important for us, which is to feel good about our team, have our team healthy and ready to play in the playoffs, and that's really it. Obviously, you want to clinch your playoff spot and get that taken care of. We're in terms of home ice, we're in a position right now where we have the edge, and you want to maintain that through good play and good habits, and all those things should take care of itself. But the thing that's most important to us is feeling good about our game and being healthy as we get ready to play.
Listen, you don't want to get to the point where you're looking at the standings and you level on points, or Tampa passes them, and now you really got to grind out your starters to get home ice advantage. No, I think they slipped up a little bit too much. They had a bit of a gap.
They had a couple games in hand too.
Yeah, a couple games in hand as well. But you don't want to get to the point where you have to run these guys to the ground. I mean, this guy, he's blocking shots as well.
Yeah, it's true.
They're all blocking shots.
And the schedule's going to get tough. They play Lightning one more time, and they play the Rangers. Like their last 3 games are on the road against the Panthers, Lightning, and Rangers. That's a tough run
tough.
if you're really tight up against the Lightning. But in the end, it doesn't matter. Game 1, if it's in Tampa Bay or if it's in Toronto, it doesn't make a difference. They have to figure out a way to get through this series, and that's not an excuse. And the team has to be at its best. So if it means that they have to sit some guys, they sit some guys for now.
Quickly, we didn't touch on Carolina that much, but no Svechnikov until the end of the season. Do you cancel out their cup hopes?
Yeah, without Svechnikov, they're done.
They're done?
They're done.
That's a big show. Freddie Anderson, you don't know what you're going to get from him in the playoffs anyway. All right, coming up after this, we're going to wrap up the show. Us 3 right here. Rob, you going to stay for another segment?
Let's do it.
We'll talk about St. Paddy's Day.
Okay.
What we're going to do, what we're going to drink.
Sure.
Guinness. And we'll bring in Sean too, so why not? Stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. Albert Vartanian, Justin Pooni, Rob Conway of BET99 stays with us for this last segment, excuse me. And we've reached the end of the show on St. Paddy's Day.
Yeah.
What's that? You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I know. I thought you were going to wait for me to call it the banter zone like you've been doing all week.
I know. I switched it up. Today I switched it up. St.
rhythm.
Paddy's Day.
Yeah.
What is the bevy of choice on St. Paddy's Day? That is the question.
Green beer, I guess. Like I'm not a big Guinness guy. I'll have a Guinness on
green beer's killer.
St. Paddy's
the next day.
Guinness is too heavy though.
It is. I would go with my buddies and they drink 9 of them, and I'm like, dude, what is in your stomach?
It depends where you're getting the Guinness from. If you go somewhere where they don't pour Guinness, it's a problem.
Okay, what are this proper 12?
Not bad. Can't do whiskey all day though.
That's Conor McGregor's whiskey?
Yeah.
A lot of Conor McGregor on the show this week.
Yeah.
Talking about his skin. He looks like the guy from Face Off. I don't know what's going on with the guy. Sean, come in. Let's hear what you got to say about your preferred bevy on St. Paddy's Day.
Oh, I like to drink, as you know. No
mudslides.
To be honest, no preferred drink. Whatever's put in front of me will do. I like a Guinness. I like a sour beer, is like a fruit sour, nice fruit sour. Blood Brothers.
I can't roll with that.
I'm on keto, so I've been drinking Ace Hill carb-free beer because I like one Stella has 20 carbs in it or something like that.
That's right. What's the keto?
Keto is carb, like basically free. I get 20 grams of carbs.
How do you do that?
I know. Oh, I love bread.
No bread?
It's disaster. But yeah,
I'm Portuguese, so in the morning it's the bread, cheese.
But
butter.
I have lost 5 pounds, so it makes you.
Feel good?
Yeah, you want to keep.
You're looking good, man.
Thank you.
You're gonna get the beach body ready to rock and roll for the summer.
Well, the dad bod's already here, so yeah.
Shawnee Boy's got a bet for us. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Oh, hey.
This is a segment I like to call the worst bet of the night by Sean McCormick.
Yeah, no, I feel good about this one, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know. It could be a 10-unit play on Rob's show.
10 units.
So for me, I'm going to go with Kamaru Usman to beat Leon Edwards. I feel like he's won most of the... He should have won the last fight. He won the first fight.
Yeah.
He and so he should come out on top.
You take him on the money line?
Well, it's minus 250. It's a little wide. So I'm going to parlay that with Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev,
There you go.
not go to the distance. It's about even money.
Okay.
Okay.
Sean McCormick.
They're going to throw
got about
bombs in
20
that one.
seconds
I can
left.
tell
Yeah.
you that. They're going to absolutely throw bombs. Gaethje
I like
and
Gaethje on the
Fiziev.
money line. Around
Gaethje money line,
+190?
but I'm gonna go Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards gets it done.
That's a brave bet. Yeah.
Pound for
I
pound,
see him here-
headshot, dead.
Yes.
I see him here at +200. That's a good bet. All right. For Rob Conway, Justin Pooni, Sean McCormick, I'm Albert Vartanian. Stay tuned till next week. We'll be back with more Homestand Show.